Hello there, it's Jay here from Jay's Vintage Junk, and if you can't guess, we're back on with the Apricot XEN-S. Made a tiny little bit of progress on it, not a lot, but a tiny little bit, so we'll go into that in this video. I've got a possible long-term solution for the backup battery, thanks to a suggestion by one of my subscribers, so we'll have a quick look at that in a minute. I've also got a couple more SCSI cards which I picked up online. We'll take a look at them. I don't actually think, possibly one of them might end up getting used in this project, but possibly not. We still are having a problem with the time and day on this computer. Basically it's the clock's not running. I have found one issue which we'll have a look at in a second, but there's obviously some more issues, so I'm going to have to do some more work on the actual board on this thing. And it's still not booting from floppies. However, that's what I thought we'd have a quick look at in this video. I relented. I went up into the attic and I spent more time than I care to think, and I managed to dig my Zenith 286 out. Now, like I said, I didn't really want to pull that computer apart, but I thought I'm going to borrow its I/O controller, its disk I/O controller, and try it in here. I've actually got the card. Let me just put anti-static on, because I'm short on cards like this. I don't want to risk damaging anything I've got, which actually definitely works. But this is the disk I/O controller out of my Zenith 286. It's a Western Digital controller. It's MFM hard drive plus floppy disk drive, and so my Zenith's getting on it, so it's a reasonably early 286. This is from 1986, and I did try using this, basically just using the disk controller on this in place of the one on my Apricot there, and I could get the disc to seek. And basically that was it. I could just get the disc to seek, but it was, apart from that, it was exactly the same. It wouldn't boot. With a booted from the hard drive, you couldn't read drive A or anything like that. But it did show that it was working on the ISA bus. Obviously, I disabled the onboard hard drive and floppy drive controllers on the main board, on the ZS board. I didn't bother disabling the hard drive on that card, because it wouldn't matter. We'd still be able to boot from floppy if it was working. That didn't work, so I pulled the data sheet up. Oops! I pulled the data sheet up for this thing, and this, although it does support high density floppy drives, this only supports 5¼ inch disk drives. It doesn't have any support whatsoever on it for 3.5 inch floppy drives. So that's possibly one of the reasons why I could never get my Zenith 286 to work with a 3.5 inch floppy disk, which does mean I might be looking at that computer again, seeing if I can actually do something with it, that and possibly upgrading the BIOS in it. But it means that this really didn't help, and I couldn't for the life of me find. I knew I had a SCSI controller, a bit like the Adaptec one that I've actually got in the system now, but with the floppy drive controller built into it as well. And I searched everywhere for it. I could not find it anywhere. So in desperation, I went on eBay, and when I saw them, basically the Adaptec cards with the floppy disk controller on them, you can't get one from the £40. Most of them seem to be in the US, so as well as paying, perhaps $30 for the card, you've got another $30 shipping on top of that. It just makes them too expensive. But while I was on there, I spotted a couple of cards. One, I don't actually know which one of these cards is which. Unfortunately, neither of them have the floppy drive controller on them, but I grabbed them anyway. One doesn't have a BIOS on it. It's just a SCSI card, ISA SCSI card. It doesn't have a boot BIOS on it. But the particular card could have come with a boot BIOS, so that's actually one that I'm thinking about seeing whether we can upgrade it. And for other future use for other computers that we want to put SCSI in the future, like I said. Probably not for this computer in particular, but while I was on there and looking, like I said, I saw basically that card. I'm saying that card, it could be this card. It had a opening bid of £3.99 on it with a couple of quid postage on it, and I put a £4 bid on it and I won it at the £4. Now, like I said, the car is not massively useful, but it did come with a SCSI cable, which is always handy because I was short. I was actually short of short SCSI cables like that anyway, and these are getting quite pricey to buy. So, like I said, £4 plus a couple of pound postage, and I got a free SCSI cable thrown in with it. The other card, I'm not sure about. Bit of a thing on the description. Now, he had it down as an Adaptec PCI SCSI card, but the picture he actually showed was that exact card that I've got, the ISA SCSI card with a boot ROM on it, and it was on a buy it now for £8 with, again, perhaps £3 postage or something like that. I just took a gamble on it. I just hit the buy it now on it. So if it's that card for £8, I got a massive bargain. If it's the PCI version of that card for £8, I got a reasonable bargain. So, like I said, after we've fiddled out a bit more, we'll have a quick look at them cards. But anyway, so I got them, and literally an hour after the second card with the boot ROM, I was rummaging in a drawer and I found the card that I'd lost in the first place. Now, this card, this is actually an earlier Adaptec SCSI card. This is actually probably more in keeping with the computer somewhat. This one dates from 1988. Trouble is, I'm not sure whether it can run with a 2 gig SCSI drive. I have a feeling this is limited to like around about a gig-ish SCSI hard drives. But it does have the floppy controller built into it. Now, I've already been through the jumper settings on this, and I have checked it, and this is configured correctly with both the SCSI and the floppy drive. So if I put this in the Apricot, hopefully we can finally get the 3.5-inch floppy actually working. But before we do that, I'll put that away for a sec. We'll open the first of the packets that I got, and this was a suggestion from one of my subscribers, a chap called Knuckles the Enchilada, I believe is his YouTube name, and he messaged on one of my previous videos, and what he suggested was lithium, basically flashlight cells. Now, I did a little bit of research after he'd suggested it, and apparently these things, apparently they're very popular with the prepper community, and they're a lithium 1.5 volt, either a AA or a AAA battery. Why they like them so much is they have a 10-year shelf life. Now, they weren't very expensive. I think they were about, we'll see here now, pick them up off eBay, and they were £3.30 for 2, including postage. But as I said, these have a 10-year shelf life on them. They also have 3 times the capacity of an alkaline, and basically they're an anti-leakage battery. So what I'm going to do is obviously it's not all back in the case yet, but we'll try them now and get them out of the packet. And they do just look like your pretty standard, bog standard AAA batteries, apart from the fact they do say lithium on them. I will also probably be getting a new holder for this. It's not brilliant. It is what I just salvaged out of a bits box, and this computer deserves something a little bit better, so I will be replacing that with, in fact I've ordered one, I'm just waiting for it to arrive. So I will be replacing that AAA holder with a brand new AAA holder. Now this will probably have made it lose all its settings, so we'll have to go back into the BIOS and set everything. But we'll put them in there, like that. So we do have a lithium backup battery again. And like I said, that should be good for 10 years. Or thereabouts. I mean, it is being used rather than in storage, but I reckon it should be 10 years life there. So fingers crossed. I mean, like I said, it might be less because if I don't use the computer very well, we're going to have to see how long they last, basically. They're certainly going to last a lot longer than one of them little round coin cells which a lot of people seem to use as backup batteries in computers. I know if you watch people doing quite a lot of Macs, or like the Mac Classics and stuff, I've seen a lot of people replace the original Mac batteries with them CR32s. Personally, the battery holder in one of them old Macs is still good. I tend to put a brand new original battery in it. You can get good ones now, which I don't think leak really as bad as the old ones, and really you just have to keep your eye on it, you know, every few years open your Mac and just check, make sure it's okay. Anyway, so we've got the new batteries in there. We'll switch on. It's obviously it's going to have lost its settings, I think. As you can see, we still don't have the clock working. Look at the F1 key. So let's just it's pretty much exactly has a amazingly, just popping the batteries out and popping the new ones in like that, it's actually retained its settings. 3.5 inch 1.44 meg, nothing else installed. Here's the interesting thing, I actually set the date earlier when I switched it on earlier, Wednesday June the 30th 2021. That's staying in, but I set the time at the same time. And every time you switch the computer back on, it just displays the time, or close enough to it as the time that I actually put in originally, and that's over an hour ago. So basically the clock is definitely still got running on this thing. Anyway, we'll shut down. And in fact, we'll go into that now, because what I did, I had the board stripped down, and I actually got my my little jeweler's loops out. And it went all over the board, and near the clock IC and the crystal I actually did find a broken trace, and I'll show you on I've got a picture of it. I couldn't film actually doing the repair, and it was incredibly fiddly to do, but I did take a close-up picture which I've got down here. What I'll do is I'll just reposition the camera so you can actually see this. I know this is cheesy. What I should do is I should take this and put it into the computer and edit it into this video, but I can't be bothered. I'm going to just film the screen here, and I'll show you the little repair I've done so far. So back in a sec. Okay, hopefully you can see that alright, but basically what we've got. Now, I couldn't find any data on this IC here whatsoever, but being that it's got a clock crystal connected to it, I'm guessing that's the clock generator IC. It connects to one of the Chips and Tech ICs here, and basically I found a broken trace. This trace here was, when I say broken, it was showing well in, you know, in the high megohms range, and it should have been, you know, an ohm if that. So basically what I did, and it was incredibly fiddly to do, I managed to scrape a little bit off here, and what I actually used was this. Now, I don't know if you can make that out against the actual thing. That's how thin that wire is in real life. Let me bring it close to the camera so you can actually see. I don't know if it can even focus on it, but can you see how thin that wire is? I actually salvaged that off a switch mode power supply. It's one of the little transformers off an old switch mode power supply. So that wire, it's about just not much thicker than little bit thicker than a human hair. It is very, very thin indeed. So you can imagine how, in fact, if you ever watched Lewis Rossman work on any of his MacBook boards, this is the kind of wire that he uses for repairing MacBook boards. So anyway, I managed to get a connection onto there. Like I said, I scraped a little bit away. I'm not happy at all with that connection. In fact, the reason I'm not carrying on actually at the moment and showing you some rework and repair work fully on this is I'm actually waiting for some supplies to come in, because I'd run out of ISA prop, I'd run out of flux, and I needed really a couple of other little bits and bats, some more Q-tips, some flux cleaner and stuff like that. So like I said, I'm not doing any more work on the board until them bits come in. And what I'll do is I'll redo that connection there. That one I'm quite pleased with actually. It's quite a decent connection, and this is basically a varnish on the wire as an insulation, so it doesn't matter that I've not gone quite where the old wire is, as though I could possibly redo it. But it is definitely a good connection, and it doesn't short on anything else. That's the important thing. But unfortunately that did not fix it. So we've obviously got yet another break somewhere, or indeed that IC, if that, so I'm pretty certain that's the clock generator IC. It's a TIT 848. I cannot find any data on it at all looking online. But like I say, I'm pretty certain it's got to be the clock generator, with the simple fact that there's the crystal and it's, you know, they're connected together. And then, like I said, it goes off to one of these, which is part of the main chipset on the 386. It's one of the Chips and Tech chipsets. The chip just there is the Paradise VGA chipset. So yeah, basically that's as far on that side that as I've got. Now I'll get you. I'll zoom you out a bit. Let's see if we can get you zoomed out, and we'll get you down on the board a little bit. Can you see what I'm doing here? Yeah, you can see everything. In fact, let's get some more light on it. That's better, isn't it? And what I thought we'll do, we're going to pull out the SCSI card, which I have been testing with so far, and we'll put that much older SCSI card that I've got in, has got a floppy drive controller on it, and it is, you know, good for 1.44 meg 3.5 inch floppy disks. So let's pull this one out. Taking SCSI cards in and out of this computer is not easy at all. I'll say that now. Mainly because, like I say, it's got this little riser. Let me get this out without breaking the ribbon. So we get it with this. There we go, that's better. Try not to put too much force on the actual ribbon. There we go, that's out. We'll just pull the hard drive out of the way for now, because I don't want to risk, in fact we can stick it to one side, it's just as good. Because again, I'm running very, very short on suitable hard drives. That's a little bit bigger than I really wanted to use in this build. I wanted something around the you know, like 300 to 500 megabyte range, and I've ended up with 2 gigabyte, which does again mean that we're sort of limited. We can't really, unless we can find a smaller hard drive, we can't really use the SCSI card that will probably solve the problem, but at least we can use it to prove the problem or not, which is that there's something wrong with the onboard floppy drive controller. We'll pull that out, put that out of harm's way. Let's just make sure that the internal floppy drive controller is disabled on these jumpers. Jumper 3, I believe, let me just double check. Jumper 3 is floppy, jumper 4 is hard drive. So we have 3 and 4 on there disabled. 5's not, yeah, right, okay. 5 can be on. 6 is off. So, right, yeah, the rest of the jumpers are all set correctly there. I'm happy with them. Yeah, that's off. Sorry, yeah. Right, so we're happy with that. Where is the new card? And then we've got, as I said, it's an much older version. This is a 1542B, but this is from 1988, as well. The card that we've just been using, this card's actually from 1993. The differences being, this won't actually work in a computer with more than 16 megabytes of RAM. It just won't work at all. Also, like I say, I think you're limited to 1 gigabyte hard drive size maximum, and as well, this has a really nice setup ROM that you can enter to set your hard drives up, set the various variables on the card. This you have to load software once you've actually got into DOS to do anything like that, to actually access the ROM or do anything with it. With a setup program. Like I said, we're not going to need to worry about that too much. What we really want to check with this card is can we get the floppy drive to boot with it. That's really what we're looking at with this card for now. Like I said, because unlike that one that I pulled out of the Zenith, that Western Digital one, this actually will support 1.44 meg 3.5-inch floppies, as where that Western Digital one will only support 5.25 inch. Like I said, it's a pain to get cards in here. It's the big connector, the big SCSI 1 connector on the back, which makes it so tricky. Right, so there we go. That's the SCSI card in. We'll take the floppy drive. As you know, we've checked and set in the BIOS that drive 8 is indeed a 1.44 meg floppy drive. No, we can't use that cable because, like I said, again, there's something slightly proprietary about the way that the drive interface has been implemented on the Apricot, and it actually uses a straight through disk drive cable like that, which won't work with that interface because that will be a standard PC interface. So what we will have to do, we should have one around here somewhere. Come on, where have you gone? There it is. We need one of these style with the twist in it to designate that that's A drive. So we can connect this one up. Plug that into there. Plug the power in. That one. Like that, and then we can connect that up to the SCSI card. In fact, we might want to connect the SCSI drive as well. It won't be able to, like I say, it won't be able to boot it or anything, but it should stop it hanging because it'll be otherwise it'll be an unterminated SCSI connection, I believe. So we will just connect that up as well. There we go. So that's all that connected up. That's connected up. That's the floppy drive connected. Let's power up and see what happens. Now I heard the floppy drive go, but it's done that every time. So we've still got the fault there. We've got the Adaptec BIOS come up, so this is a much earlier version. Strike F1 key. Valid system. Have we got a disc in? No. Like I said, it can't boot from that SCSI hard drive, like I said, because that's a 2 gig drive. Like I said, I'm pretty certain that them cards are limited to a maximum of a 1 gig drive, unless you change the ROMs. I think that's right. I've got a DOS boot disc here. I've got some DOS boot discs. We've got MS-DOS 622 there. I know that one works because it's what I actually formatted that 2 gig drive with, using this actual floppy drive, I believe. So this should definitely work. Put that in there. Let's see. No. Invalid system disk. Let's try doing a reset. So you can hear it actually exactly like it was before. Strike F1 key to continue. Invalid system disk. Let's have a look. See, it tries to. No, can you see the disk drive there? We'll press F1. Oh, I'm pressing a key. So it's seeking the disk. In fact, I can actually hear it try to seek the disk. It actually moves the head, but again, it is still not coming up. Let's try. This is a 720k disc, but it's still a boot disc. Let's try that. No. So we've tried a known good floppy drive controller and we've still got the same problem. I'm wondering whether it's something that's specific to these apricots. Now these apricots have got a weird feature and I don't know whether this could be something to do with this weird feature. I'll zoom you in. It's actually on the legend on the power supply here, and we'll see if we can. I can make this out to you. Let's get you right zoomed in. Okay. Oops. Now, just move the hard drive because I don't want to risk damaging that hard drive. This is going to be difficult to show you, but basically this here is a map of the main board. Let me zoom you out a little bit so you can see what I'm pointing at. This on the power supply here is basically a map of the main board, and in the corner here we have secondary and primary authorization key socket. Now on the actual computer itself, that's these here. Now we have this weird little module. It can plug into either one, and I think it was plugged into the secondary one there when I got the computer. It will plug into the primary one. Is this some kind of security device that stops you booting from a floppy unless you've got two of them in, or something like that? Is it something weird that's proprietary to the Apricot like that? Because I've never seen anything like this before, and I've never seen anything, you know. Oops, let's get you up. I've never seen anything like it's saying there where it's, like I said, secondary and primary authorization key socket. So those are the sockets on the board, and then that's obviously an authorization key. I can't find any data about this whatsoever. But could it be, like I said, that you need two of them to be able to use the floppy? I'm at a bit of a loss now, because I was expecting us to be able to boot using that SCSI board. So we've completely disabled the onboard floppy controller. We're not using it at all, so it shouldn't have any influence on the rest of the computer. And yet we're in exactly the same position we were before, where it will not. Like I said, it seeks a disk. Where if you have a drive connected, it'll seek it. It'll spin the motor, but you have no access to the drive at all. In my mind, I'm actually thinking whether it would be an idea to try an alternative BIOS in this thing. I think I've got somewhere, but I'm going to have to hunt for it. A couple of older Phoenix BIOS from like 2 and 386 era computers. I mean, they're just random BIOS I've not kept for BIOS. I've kept them for the EPROMs they're on to, you know, wipe and reuse. But I do know I've got in that box. I've got a couple of different pairs of EPROM, you know, ROMs. So I wonder if I could try some of them. I'll have to dig them out and perhaps have a look at that in the next video. We'll have a look at doing some more repair on that clock circuit. See if we can actually get that clock circuit working again. And we might actually have a look at using an alternative ROM in this. It might help matters, it might not, I'm not sure. But we seem to have ruled out it just being a floppy controller issue. Otherwise it would have booted using that SCSI board as the floppy drive controller. So basically that's where we're at the moment. I was hoping to be at a slightly better point here now. So I was at least hoping to be able to boot from floppy at this point, even if we didn't have the clock issue fixed. Obviously, like I said, that wouldn't be the perfect solution. We still wouldn't have the computer sorted, because if we use that board there, we'll have to find a different hard drive, a smaller hard drive. If we use my other SCSI board, obviously that doesn't fix the floppy problem. But now we know that that doesn't seem to be the issue. The issue's somewhere else. At least it means that, like I said, that board, to be honest, that board can go back into storage for the time being, and I've got this idea that that might end up in my Zenith 286, possibly, depending on what I do with that computer. And that can go back into this Apricot, because like I said, at least this will run the 2 gig hard drive okay, it boots it fine, and we don't need the floppy controller on this, because that's obviously not the issue. What we'll do now, let's have a look at them 2 SCSI cards that I picked up on eBay then. I mean, one of them might actually be able to be used in this system, if it's the ISA. Right, let's start with this one, because I don't know which one's which. One cost me £4, oh well, £3.99 plus postage. One cost me £8 plus postage. we go. We're in. Let's see which one this is. I don't particularly like the fact they've wrapped this plastic around it. That's gonna not be good for static. We'll get this into a nice new anti-static bag as soon as we've got it out of this lot. Dear me. There we are. So which one is this? Aha! Oh, fantastic. Actually, this is better than what I was hoping. Right. Oh, it's not an Adaptec. I thought it was an Adaptec this, but it's not. But that is really rather good. That's an Advances. It's basically the same as the Adaptec, that later Adaptec I was using. Awesome thing about this is it's got the smaller mini SCSI connector on it, so it might actually be a damn sight easier to fit into that computer. I'm not going to struggle to get it in so much. So that's the card I paid £8 for. It is ISA, not PCI, so I'm super pleased with that. I'm sure he put it up as an Adaptec though. It's not, like I say, it's not, it's an Advances. Doesn't make a difference at all. It's exactly the same. In fact, this is later. This is 1996, so this is a later card. Not in this video, I don't think, but we will do. We'll have a test of this and see what we can do. Just check it out, make sure it works and everything. But that's quite a nice card, I think. In fact, let's see how. It depends how long this video goes. We might give it a quick try at the end. Let's open the other one. Ooh, let's put that card on there because it's safer on there than on that stuff. It can go in the bin. I mean, I am wearing anti-static precautions, but even so, we'll get that out of the way. And let's take a look at the other one. So this is the one that's not got a boot ROM on it. So this is a less useful card. I wouldn't normally even really put a bid in for anything like this, but when it was £4 and it came with a SCSI cable, I thought, why not? Again, oh, at least it's in an anti-static bag. The dreaded of bubble wrap, which causes untold damage to electronics. This isn't an Adaptec. At least it's in a anti-static bag. Where's the knife gone? There it is. There we go. Now, like I said, that cost me £4 plus a little bit of postage on it. It does not have a boot ROM. Like I said, you can't use this to boot a computer. But what I'm wondering, you can pick these up cheap because, like I said, they're not a huge amount of use for booting a computer with. You could use this to run a scanner and external CD-ROM drive. You can use it with hard drives, providing you use either a DOS or a Windows driver to actually boot the card. But like I said, you can't use it to boot a computer as it is. But there was a version of this card that came with a boot ROM that you could do, which are obviously they sell for around the £30–40 mark. This was a £4 plus postage. As far as I'm aware, the only difference is the boot ROM there and an IC there. Now, I'm not sure what that IC is. That's what I need to find out. If I can find out what that is and they're readily available, we'll try actually to update that card and convert that card into the bootable version of it. Well, that'll be quite an interesting little project, and that's the reason I picked that card up. Plus, like I said, I was always short of short SCSI cables like that. That's really handy. That was worth buying it for, really, on its own. But we'll definitely do something with that card. That is the Adaptec. That's a 5150. I said they're all like 51, 61. The general part numbers of the Adaptec cards we're interested in. Let us see. So this is a 96 card. This is the chap I bought it from did say the card worked, although said it hadn't been used in a long time. I'm just concerned with the fact that he'd obviously, like I said, didn't really know about static precautions and had put it in that horrible foam. And put this one away. Can be nice and safe in there. I've got plans that might go in. That might go in my 286 if we bring my 286 out to play anyway. So let's try this. Now this should be a breeze to put in compared with them. Look at that. Straight in. I don't know how it's configured. I haven't got any. Like I say, I had a feeling. I thought this was an Adaptec, but it's not. It's a different make. I don't know how the dip switches need to be configured, so this might not boot it. But at least if we can see the boot screen come up on the BIOS screen come up, we can take it from there. But I will connect a hard drive up to it. So it shouldn't have any problem with a 2 GB drive, this. In fact, 1996 is very, very late for an ISA card. Most things like SCSI cards by 96, you'd think really it'd be PCI. Let's switch on. Let's see if it comes up with anything. Here we go. Advanced ISA PMP. Control A to run Advanced Wear Utility. Let's try that. Control A. It seems to have hung at that for the moment. Control A doesn't seem to be doing anything. Now it's Control Delete. Fiddle about with some jumpers. See if that makes any difference. I think what I'll have to do is I'll have to actually pull the manual out for this card and do some proper switching all them dip switches down to obviously turn the boot ROM off. So I don't know what I'm really doing here. I'm just fiddling about with some of the dip switches, just see. Can't actually see any jumpers on the board at all, really, to be fair. It all seems to be done with them 4 dip switches at the back. Yeah, it just seems to freeze there. But it's definitely something to, like I say, the card is not dead. I'd expect that LED possibly, oh, that could be activity actually. Like I say, we can definitely see that it's not dead. We may have to do some more work on it, but what I'll do is I'll get the owner's manual for it, the operator's manual, so we can actually make sure it's all set up and going to work alright. And we'll do a video perhaps testing some of these SCSI cards out and having a play with some SCSI bits. But see, unfortunately it's not helped with the Apricot system. So I think in the next instalment on this thing, I'll get you over to me. There we go. So I think in the next instalment on the Apricot, we're going to have to look at that bit of the board where the corrosion was, see if we can find any more damaged traces like that one I've just shown you. Really see if we can get that fixed. And so if we can get the real-time clock working, that's something we can strike off and we're happy with. And I'm going to have a look, see if I can find some of them other BIOS ROMs that I've got and see if we've got something that, I mean, providing it's a Phoenix ROM, it should work. It should be compatible. If anyone knows these Apricot XEN-S better than I do, what do you know about that little, like I said, what's it said, authorization key? Do I need two things in there? Is it something to do with a security thing that if they're removed that you can't boot from a floppy? Is it like an anti-piracy thing if the computer's in an office or something and you have them removed, no one can go on, get past the passwords or something by booting from a floppy and getting into the hard drive that way? And so is that what it's about? And because I've got one missing, is that why I can't boot into boot from the floppy? And if that's the case, I'm hoping actually if I swap the BIOSes out for a more standard Phoenix BIOS, it'd actually circumvent that. I mean, we may still need to use an external floppy drive controller. I don't know, like I said, this is something I'm really guessing at. Unfortunately, technical data for these Apricots, the later Zen series, is not easy to find. I can't really find anything. I've got all the technical bulletins, all the service data for the earlier Apricot XI range of computers and the F series and stuff like that. Trying to find stuff technical on these early Apricot XEN systems seems very, very hard indeed. I mean, like I say, if I had a technical service manual or something like that that explains some of these things, or at least you had some test voltages so I could test things out, it would be so much easier to work on this thing because I'm really working on it pretty blind. But I've got confidence that at least we can perhaps sort that clock issue out, and then we can have a look at see if we can get the floppy work. And the floppy is not the end of the world. The way I want to use this computer when it's actually working, I really am not going to need the floppy. I'm going to basically, I'll most likely use like network and things like that to get software off and on the computer. The floppy would just be there for completeness, like I said. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there for now. I've waffled and rambled on far too long on this thing for now. As soon as my supplies come in, like I said, we'll have a crack, we'll have another look at the board, see if we can find any more broken traces, repair them, perhaps do a slightly better job on that one that I've repaired so far. I'm happy with one connection on it, but the other one does look a little bit messy, so we'll see if we can perhaps make that look a little bit neater. So like I say, I'll leave it there for now. Hope you enjoyed this little updatey rambly thing and a look through some of the junk I've bought on eBay. Thanks for watching and goodbye.